Where's your car?
I let her drive.
You okay?
Good.
Do you want to go in? You don't want me to go inside?
Let's just stay in here and let's talk.
Okay.
Okay, Sistas fans. Now, some people have told me in the comment section, I think it was in the review I did. I still didn't do a live. My bad. Maybe I'll do one tonight. Basically, I said, Danni, I didn't hate the Danni and Preston scene in the last episode. I thought it was one of the better scenes that we've gotten between these two in quite a long time. Danni was open and honest about how I don't know what I want. One day I want you, the next day I want to be alone, and then, hot girl summer and whatnot. And when Preston, was like, I was following you up until you said hot girl summer, like, what is that? You don't want to know. I'll just have to look that up on my Urban Dictionary. It's like, no, you don't want to do that. And then from there, they opt to go inside, but nothing's going to happen. But then we know that based on the promo and this week's episode, he's going to be shirtless. So something does happen. And he does say, I can spend the night if you want. So something does happen. Now, my thing is this. Personally speaking, I still don't like how this couple is being put back together, because it makes it seem like all the shit that has gone down since season 3 doesn't matter. It's the fact that I know it's because you're a guy. That's why you feel this way. Danni over here just sleeping with whoever, Joe Smo and, Bobby Blow. I don't know. I'm just making up names here. And yet she's getting off scot-free. Like, shouldn't she tell Preston about the Jonah situation? Some people are like, look, no, he doesn't need to know about that. And I mean, that was a pretty traumatic experience. And you would think she would want to talk with somebody who won't end up throwing it in her face as a joke like Andy did. And oh boy, I got a lot to say about that. I just feel like it doesn't seem right. Remember, what was it? I think, and look, I can have my numbers wrong because you know how random this show is at times. Maybe this was in season 3, I think. Remember when Sabrina, this was the bank robbery season. Yeah, so this was definitely season 3 because Q was in jail Q was in jail at the beginning of season 4. That's when he was calling Maurice on the phone. So, yeah, season 3. When, it was either during the mid-season finale, I think, before we got to the back half of season 3. But remember that this was after the Jacoby punch, and, after this, Calvin and Sabrina weren't on speaking terms, and I was like, good, because they really don't need to be at this point. And I think Maurice, for like the umpteenth time, sometimes he's like, y'all need to just stop it, like, find other people. And then sometimes, y'all need to sit down like adults and just, have a mature conversation. And then I think he took his phone and then he called Sabrina and then handed the phone over to Calvin. And then out of nowhere, they just started talking again. And he went over to her apartment. And I'm like, this is the shittiest way of bringing two characters back together. And next thing you know, they end up sleeping together. And then they wake up the next morning. I love you. It's okay if you don't want to say it. And you want to be in a relationship? No, I don't. Okay, I understand. But how about this? How about you tell me when you want to see somebody else instead of, just randomly hooking up with somebody. So basically, we'll check in with each other before we start interacting with anyone else. And then a few hours later, because remember, she went to work, the robbery happened, and then, of course, they had the rest of the day off. She's over at Maurice's apartment, and then she finds Calvin naked in bed with Peggy, or coming out of his bedroom naked with Peggy. And it's like, what the hell? Calvin. So I feel the same way about Danni and Preston, where it's like, Danni was able to just, El Fuego, Jonah, dated Logan, and that's all swept under the rug. And then Preston just gets back with her. And the even worse was when Preston was like, when Danni was like, so are you going to Texas to, propose to old girl? well, that depends on what you do. And it's like, no, that is not. I feel like that was forced into the writing to give Mignon some argument, some validation about Preston, pressuring her, and that's wrong, which I think is complete bullshit. So these two are just going to get back together like nothing happened. And that's why I hate this Jonah thing, because there's a chance he'll show up for revenge, but I don't know that's really going to happen. So if not, then that's it. We're just going to forget this entire domestic violence thing. And that just goes to show how poorly Tyler Perry wrote the storyline, because of the fact that you would think this would mean something, that it would actually be a huge weight on Danni's shoulders to bear, something that she's going to carry around for quite a while, which changes the way she interacts with men. But no, it was wrote off as a joke. When Andy, basically threw it in her face to get back at her for Danni talking to Karen about the Gary stuff. It makes no sense. So I get it. There are those who feel like she doesn't need to. She almost murdered a guy. You don't think that's something Preston should know about in terms for anger management issues? I mean, remember when he had her, handcuffed and called her, gal or something? Like, imagine she had flipped out on him and killed him. Or tried to. You know what I mean? Yeah, he didn't spat on her or spit on her, but still. It's just one of them things where Preston could wind up being killed, and next thing you know, Danni's locked up. It's just one of those things where Tyler he writes things for shock value, but he doesn't write things to make sense. If we're just going to gloss over this whole Jonah situation like it never happened, I'm going to be really pissed off. Because of the fact that, just like with Andy, the number of times she's been through she's been through so many things that would leave people with PTSD, damn near unable to trust another man again when it comes to Gary and what Jasmine and all this other stuff happened. And she's able to just walk it off like nothing happened. I hate that about the character. Tyler could have wrote that character so much better, but he didn't. He didn't. Now with Danni, we have this. Andy brought up the trauma, like running away from it. Okay, so what happened in Danni's past? Well, is it something so triggering that she would flip out the way she did on Jonah? Like, what happened? We're never going to find out. We're just going to keep walking along. Hey, Danni and Preston are working things out like the fans want it, so everything that happened in between doesn't really matter. Kind of does, but that's just me. Excuse me for wanting good storytelling. So, I mean, let's say theoretically, if, Jonah does show up at the apartment for revenge, and then Preston has to take care of it, he's going to have some damn questions. What's Danni going to do? Cover it up with some jokes? I don't know. But how do you feel about it? How do you feel about, here's what I thought. Danni saying, come by my place, but we're not going inside. We're going to stand in front of the apartment, in the parking lot. I'm like, oh, is this a symbolic thing where Danni wants to, express how she feels, talk about what happened the night before, about, hey, how I'm messed up, and I know you love me and you want me, but this is the Danni you're going to have to deal with if you choose to be with me. I thought we were getting something like that, but instead, we didn't. So what was the point of them just standing outside, She wouldn't even tell Preston what really happened to the car, so I don't want to be too harsh, because maybe this upcoming episode will explore the details even more, but something tells me they're not. But I don't know. It just seems very forced to have these two together. These two were at their prime in season 2. Then Tyler just had to ruin them. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Like and subscribe. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. And I'll catch you in the next one.